Not willing. I know. This is just, they say there's more accidents the week after turning the clocks ahead. Yeah, I get it. And then, of course, Gayton, he walked up to me this morning. He says, aren't you supposed to be away today? I'm like, not only did he turn his clock ahead an hour, he turned his clock ahead 1 week. Like, that is next week. He is on it. On it. So on that note, of course, next week we are welcoming Ron Malmus with us. He'll be down to lead the worship service, so that is great to have him back with us. And also, if you want a Broadview subscription, so it's been Broadview for a long time, but it used to be the Observer magazine, and it is the longest-running magazine in Canada. Dating back from the 1800s with the Methodist Church, they've been going for a long time, and so Broadview magazine subscriptions, the order deadline is the end of March. It's $25 per year, so contact Donna for if you want to renew or to sign up for the first time. It's actually an excellent magazine, and like I said, very few magazines have lasted as long as Broadview, and I think Broadview is either the third or the fourth name that it's gone by. So folks can sign up for that. Just to let you know that Wednesdays, starting this week, we have Walk, Love, Pray with the minister at the Tamatik Arena, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30. I did have 10 a.m. till 11, but I'd like to start swimming on Sunday mornings, and I don't know if I'll be dry enough by 10 a.m. I'll still be in my bathing suit, and you don't want to do that with a walk. So 10:30 till 11:30 a.m. walk with the minister starting at the Tamatik Arena this Wednesday. And once the sidewalks and the weather improve, we'll begin to walk around our church neighborhood. This is, of course, the last month to gather Saturday mornings at 11. The first Sunday in April, April 2nd, Palm Sunday, we'll be back at 10:30. And the 70th anniversary planning team. Now, we didn't get a chance to gather last week, but the worship and music team did gather, and we came up with some really good ideas. And if there are other folk who want to be part of that 70th anniversary planning team, we thought of a meet and greet on Friday and some potential events to do, like maybe a golf scramble in the morning, followed by a barbecue at Jeff's house if we twist his rubber arm, and we might have a barbecue at his place on the Saturday, followed by a really special worship and luncheon. So that would be September long weekend. If you're interested in being a part of that team or a piece of it, contacting people, inviting, save the dates kind of stuff right now, please come and talk to us after church. Messy Church planning team, if you're interested in such a thing, or if you even have a question about what Messy Church might be, come and talk to me after church. Youth group as well. And just to note, this information will go out, but Holy Week will be very full. Contemplative, but full. So we have, of course, the Palm Sunday service, but then on Monday, the 3rd of April, we are going to open up the church the way we did last year with some spiritual practice centers, how we had little pieces set up around. So the church will be open for a couple of hours. Drop in, people can come that morning from 10:30 till 12:30. And then that night, of course, is the election reflection. Tuesdays, 2 times to gather for the spiritual practice centers, and that is 10:30 till 12:30 and 6:30 to 8:30. Wednesday, we'll have the Walk, Love, Pray in the morning, and the spiritual will open up the church in the evening from 6:30 to 8:30. Thursday, we have time in the morning to gather with our spiritual practices. And then in the evening, we have the Maundy Thursday service at 6:30 for refreshments, 7 p.m. service. And then Good Friday, 11 o'clock on the Friday the 7th. And Easter service, of course, at 10:30 a.m. Bring flowers for the cross. And we might have, maybe, in conversation, a 7 a.m. Easter sunrise service. Maybe. We're in conversation with Emma and the Anglican church service. See if she gets up early enough. And I'd have to pre-do my sermon because that's sermon writing time. So I will see what we can do. Okay, folks, let's prepare our hearts and our minds for worship. I invite you to take a breath. Take a breath and maybe allow God's angels to take the burdens from your hands, from our hearts and our shoulders. So we can walk into this Lenten journey feeling lighter, maybe inspired. Let us walk this wilderness time together through fear and exhaustion into love and wholeness. And now I invite us to take a moment to acknowledge the territory, this place, this piece of God's sacred creation upon which we are gathered. We encourage you, if you are viewing this service from home or on vacation, to take a moment to acknowledge the first peoples of your local area and territory upon which you currently reside. Supported by the United Church of Canada, seeking to honor the calls to action to the churches which came out of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and in support of the UN's Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, we acknowledge the traditional unceded territories of the Haisla Nation upon which we work, play, and pray. We give thanks for this territory and its people, and we remember that as members of the wider community of Kitimat, we commit ourselves to seeking right relationship with our sisters and brothers, and to look for and be the face of love in the Kitimat Valley and in the world. There once was a man who lived his life so differently, who loved and welcomed people so unconditionally. People began to follow him. And one day someone in the crowds asked him, "Who are you?" And he said,
"I am the light."
And he said,
"And so are you."
Folks, please rise as you are able. God calls us from our slumbers to wake up. Let's try that again. God calls us from our slumbers to
wake up.
God calls us from our petty disputes to
make up.
God calls us from our comfort zones and apathy to
stand up.
God calls us from our despair and limited sight to
look up.
God calls us from our stubbornness and disobedience to
give up.
Holy One, we are here in this place, your Lenten people. At times we have not been our best selves. We've been imperfect, broken, sometimes difficult, fearful and exhausted, short-sighted, cynical maybe, apathetic, overly sensitive, lost, self-absorbed, sleepwalking through life, judgmental, unwelcoming, overbearing, and still, you call us to walk together in community. You remind us of our beauty and the beauty of creation. You remind us of our most positive potential. You heal our broken hearts, calm our distracted and anxious spirits, and you teach us how to build bridges. In our time together, may your presence within this community inspire us to be your people in the world. In all the ways we need your reminding, may our lives be changed. May our love be widened. In your name we pray. Amen.
Surely the Lord deserves our praise.
be seated. Let's pray. Holy One, you know us, you know our hearts, and you know that sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we think cultural rules and regulations, societal expectations are the ways things always should be and have always been. Rules and attitudes, prejudices, traditional views that lead us to believe that some people are better than others, more deserving of respect, power, and privilege. Some of these rules, you know, they are so pervasive. We've internalized them. We look upon ourselves and our own lives and loves through societal expectations of what beauty, success, power, wealth, intelligence, and vitality look like. And we can hate ourselves for being different, for not being the right gender, the right color, the right age, driving the right cars, wearing the right kind of clothes, sleeping in the right homes, and working in the right jobs. Sacred One, please help us move beyond societal expectations and regulations so we can look at life through your loving lens, your welcoming, grace-filled lens. We are so tired of the divisiveness, the uncaring words and actions we see nearly every day. And for our part in the darkening of your world, forgive us. Holy One, help us to see ourselves in our neighbors, to see the life that unites us, the griefs we share, the fear we harbor, the loves that we cherish, the dreams we hold in common. Help us seek understanding and common ground. Help us to love who we are and to love those who are different than us, especially those who push our buttons. Help us to pray for them and to pray into our broken and breaking places that we find healing and unity in your light. In silence, we bring our open hearts, our broken hearts to you. From dust we are created, and to dust we shall return. In spring the seed is planted, at the harvest chaff will burn. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. From dust we are created, and to dust we shall return. In spring the seed is planted, at the harvest chaff will burn. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. From dust we are created, and to dust we shall return. In spring the seed is planted, at the harvest chaff will burn. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. hear the good news. Know this in your hearts, in a place even deeper than your heart. God loves you, God loves us, God loves all of creation. No matter what, love permeates everything. We start and end and start again in love. Thanks be to God. Amen. I was so hopeful that spring was just around the corner.
Nope.
It is. Reassuring that it is. I was looking forward to flowers and sunshine and green grass. It's coming. Hear the good news. And we take all those feelings, you know, that spring and new energy that we all get, especially for those who are gardeners. How many folks can't wait to get their hands dirty? Yeah. Those folks. That feeling, oh yes, check the fingernails every day. Mm-hmm. New life, the excitement of seeing new buds. We take those feelings, like love, like light, new life, and we turn and we look at our neighbors and we say, it's coming. Life is coming. And we say, may the peace of Christ be with you all.
And
also with you.
Amen.
Our first reading today can be found in the Hebrew Testament's book of Exodus, chapter 17, verses 1 through 7. Let our hearts be open as we listen to God's wisdom. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages as Yahweh commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test Yahweh?" But the people thirsted there for water. And the people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to God, "What shall I do with these people? They're almost ready to stone me." God said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock of Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink." Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. He called the place Massah and Meribah because the Israelites quarreled and tested God, saying, "Is Yahweh among us or not?" For sacred wisdom passed down to us through our spiritual ancestors, thanks be to God.
The
Spirit, grow.
Our second reading on this second Sunday of the Lenten season comes from the Christian Testament's Gospel according to John, chapter 4, verses 5 through 42. So Jesus came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria?" Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it was that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have no bucket, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well, and with his sons and his flocks drank from it?" Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give becomes in them a spring of water, gushing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go and call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Creator neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Creator in spirit and truth. For the Creator seeks such as these to worship the one. God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship in spirit and in truth." The woman said to Jesus, "I know that the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." Just then the disciples came. They were astonished that he was speaking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you speaking to her?" Then the woman left her water jar and went back to the city. She said to the people, "Come and see the man who told me everything I have ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he?" When they left the city and were on their way to him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, "Rabbi, eat something." But Jesus said to them, "I have food that you do not know about." So the disciples said to one another, "Surely no one has brought him something to eat." Jesus said to them, "My food is to do the will of the Holy One who sent me, and to complete God's work. Do you not say 4 months more and then comes the harvest? But I tell you, look around and see how the fields are ripe for harvesting. The reaper is already receiving wages and gathering fruit for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may rejoice together. For here the saying holds true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you did not labor. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor." Many Samaritans from that city believed in him because of the woman's testimony. "He told me everything that I had ever done." So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked Jesus to stay with them. And he stayed there for 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. They said to the woman, "It is no longer because of what you said that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is truly the Savior of the world." For the word of God.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Amen.
Thank you, Phelan. Let's pray. Holy One, may the words of my mouth and the thoughts of all of our hearts be acceptable to you. May they bring you glory. Amen. I've been watching quite a few series on the telly about people heading out west in wagons, joining groups of desperate people looking for a new start, folks who spend their first several years in the new-to-them colonies and country as indentured servants until debts are paid, like the show 1863 or 73, whatever that prequel to Yellowstone is, and Billy the Kid. And it seems the thing to watch nowadays. Either it's some post-apocalyptic series with fungi or regular zombies or werewolves, or it's some kind of colonizing series, either taking over galaxies or Turtle Island. And I'm not really a fan of zombies or werewolves, so westerns in space it is. More colonializations. To boldly go where no one has gone before, only to discover that there are already sentient life forms there. To boldly go where no humans have gone before, to hopefully make new friends and not new enemies. Whether the regular folk are in covered wagons or in deep space research vessels, there are always challenges along the way. Life supports are threatened, water and food management a constant source of stress. There's always a river, a tornado, or a flash flood that wipes out or wipes away the food wagon, and only the food wagon. There's always some kind of water that is found that is filled with cholera or typhoid or some other life-threatening disease caused by a bacterium or single-celled amoeba. I swear I could write these shows. They are so the same. And the captain, the leader of the ragtag group of dreamers and last chancers at a new life, always finds himself like Moses set upon. You dragged us out here to die. The government promised us land of milk and honey. Take us back to the cities where we came from. Take us back to the planet most like Earth. Not to the original one, because that was destroyed long ago before humans got their act together. This scene in the story of Exodus is just perfect because it's believable. It happens over and over again in different contexts. You led us out of the frying pan and into the fire. At least in Egypt we got water and after a beating, and we were fed something after our work. And poor Moses is like, God, I didn't sign up for this. Oy vey, you told me to lead them out of bondage. Now what? And then he listens to God, takes his miracle-filled staff, strikes the rock, and out comes clean, drinkable water. And the whiners and the complainers have been saved to whine and complain another day. Huzzah! And Moses isn't sure he feels relieved or sad. Is prolonging this desert journey a good idea? And then centuries later, a wandering teaching healer is sitting by a well in a town where he shouldn't be, sitting as if he cared anything about his reputation, talking with an unknown woman, which he shouldn't be doing if he cared at all about his reputation. And clearly, she already has issues in the reputation department. Why else would she be coming to the well to fetch water in the heat of midday and not in the cool of the morning like other women? Why not collect water with the others so that she could catch up on the news of the neighborhood and maybe laugh with friends? Why not? Because she's been married multiple times. She was a housewife of Samaria County before the binge-worthy TV fodder even began. And here she was, thinking she had the well all to herself, and instead she has a Nazarene sitting there waiting for his friends to come back from the market. It was interesting on Monday night at our election reflection, and you know, if you haven't zoomed into the election reflection before, you might want to try it, even once, because we get into some pretty neat conversations, and although we don't tend to complain like those of the desert exodus, we can get a little off the beaten track. But the conversations and the learnings are always good. So Monday night we wondered why the Samaritans have such a bad reputation with the Jewish folk. Was it that they worshipped a different god or gods than they worshipped? Nope. I mean, through the miracle that is Google, we asked the question and found out that the Samaritans believed that since more than 3,600 years ago, that when they came to live on Mount Gerizim, because Moses ordered them to protect it as a sacred mountain and worship it by making pilgrimages to it 3 times a year, they believed that that's where God was. The same God that the Jews worshipped, because they were all kind of related, believing in the one God. Yes, they believed in Yahweh. In the story of the parable of the Good Samaritan, the merciful traveler was a Jewish man, or a Hebrew of some kind of man. The woman Jesus is talking to is a Hebrew woman, but a Samaritan. In the town that they're in, it's built around Jacob's well. It is a Hebrew city, so why on earth did the Jewish community that Jesus seems to belong to have such an issue with another Jewish community filled with Hebrew folk? One reason, and one of the main reasons, of course, had to do with power and politics. Never an issue. Power and politics. No surprise there. It always comes down to who holds the power and where they hold it. Apparently, the Samaritans believed that God chose Mount Gerizim near Shechem to set up digs on earth. That's where God lived. While the Jewish community Jesus belonged to believed that God chose Mount Zion to put down roots, which meant the seat of power, sacred and otherwise, would be, of course, Jerusalem. So we skip ahead several more centuries, and Christians would shed blood over whether God's home and mouthpiece on earth was in France, Rome, or Constantinople. Do we ever learn? Jerusalem would be the summer home, basically a timeshare with Muslims, Jews, and Christians. It came as a shock to many of our Monday night biblical explorers that Samaritans practiced Judaism. We just assumed they were a gentle community of some maker model, but not Jews, not part of the Hebrew tradition. Power in politics, who holds the power? Always the question. And here, Jesus, as a Jewish man, holds all the power. For the Samaritan woman to be alone with him places her in a vulnerable position. Even though her reputation is already compromised, the power she holds, however, is in her honesty. She enters into conversation with this stranger, and she is honest with him. She's not trying to be anyone else. She is who she is. This is such a great conversation. And it makes a little more sense now, knowing the historic disagreement of what the Bible calls Samaritan and Jews. Where God resides, there is the seat of power and privilege. She says, our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem. Our people have always been here, and we know God is here. Who are you to say God is not here but there? And Jesus doesn't get into an argument with her about where God resides. He doesn't say she's wrong. He doesn't claim to be right. His response to a generations-long argument, an argument that has set one group of Yahweh worshipers against another, is mind-blowing. He says, woman, he could have at least asked her name. He says, woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Creator neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. That's sacrilege. The hour is coming for the Creator is here and now, when the true worshipers will worship the Creator in spirit and truth, for the Creator seeks such as these to worship the one. God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship in spirit and truth. God's not here and God is not there. God is spirit and truth. And she thought she was going to the well to get some water. Instead, she hears the radical idea that God isn't here or there. God is not limited by location, though we are told location, location, location. No, it is through spirit and truth that people will follow and know, connect with God, be connected with God, be connected to one another. And she is already someone who doesn't hide from truth. She is already someone who doesn't hide from who she is, though her truth is isolating, stigmatizing, and marginalizing. She can't even get water with her peers. How lonely must she have been or have felt to risk conversation with a strange man who is obviously not one of her tribe? But the water she received that day will quench the thirst in her for connection, because there is no separation from her and her sacred source. There is no space between where God is on that mountain and her home, no godless void between Yahweh's place and Jacob's well, no sacred emptiness between her and Jerusalem. No, God is neither here nor there. God is everywhere. In spirit and truth. Drink that knowledge in, woman. Drink that knowledge in, world. We thirst, we hunger after so much that doesn't really fill us. Empty calories. In our world, which is becoming more and more secular, more and more atheistic or anti-theist, we are denying the spiritual part of our being. I don't think I can even say we've become more agnostic. You know, agnostic as in, we know that there's something there, but we aren't sure what, so we're just going to hedge our bets and going to practice a whole bunch of different things, a little bit of a bunch of different spiritual practices. I mean, some might call that spiritual appropriation, taking pieces of many spiritual traditions because it feels right, otherwise known as SBNRs. Spiritual, but not religious. There seems to be more spiritual but not religious than spiritual and religious. I think people are throwing baby Jesus out with the bathwater, if we want to stick with the water metaphor. I was recently asked to come in and do some training with a local area hospice association. The learning resource, I think I've mentioned maybe before, the learning resource for volunteers has changed, and I was absolutely stunned to learn that a new hospice training resource didn't even have a spirituality component. How can you be serving people and families that are facing major life changes, who may be actively dying, who are preparing to transition without honoring all aspects of the self, including the spiritual self? I mean, we understand the medicine wheel includes mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of the self and community. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, though spirituality is not clearly named, there is much in common with the language of self-actualization, transcendence, love, belonging, stuff that touches our spiritual self. Clearly within the chart, physical, emotional, and mental and spiritual needs are named, and as they are met, one grows in all areas of being. There is no disconnection between emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual needs. And yet now, in 2023, it's like we're just ignoring that part of ourselves. We are so hungry in a world, so thirsty in a world that more and more seek to cut out the spiritual part of our being, that part that connects us with creation, with life's source, with love's essence, with ourselves and each other. And this removal of spiritual sensibilities from our lexicon is pervasive. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there is an attack on Christianity specifically. I'm not saying that. And there's a specifically anti-Christian agenda. I'm saying in general, it's an anti-spiritual agenda of any kind. We're just moving away from it. You wonder why in colonization, one of the things that people did was to take away the ability to worship, the ability to gather and to care for one's spiritual essence. The core of our being. Take that away, and what can you do to us? Why chip away at this part of our being? What does a healthy spirituality, an active, vibrant spiritual practice give us? What does it give you? And with what are we backfilling that God-shaped hole in our hearts and in our lives? A healthy spiritual practice gives us a sense that there is something bigger than us, a cause that is greater. It connects us in community. It calls us to seek equitable justice. It calls us to care for the earth and for the most vulnerable in our midst. It calls us to be merciful and hospitable. It calls us to be kind and generous. It calls us to pray for our enemies and be humble. Think about the world's religions, big ones, when they are operating from their best places. Do no harm. Love one another. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to yourself. Every single major religious practice has some form of the golden rule. Jesus is giving her water that doesn't run out, that quenches all thirst. Hey, you, God is everywhere. Everywhere there is truth. Everywhere there is love. Everywhere people need to be healed and feel like they belong, God is there. You don't have to travel miles and on certain days to be with God. God's loving, healing, transforming presence is everything, everywhere, all at once, to quote an Oscar title-nominated movie thing. Everything, everywhere, all at once, which is a really weird movie, but good. The world wants us thirsty and hungry. The world wants us to fill the God-shaped hole in our lives and communities with stuff, with fear, with anything and everything that will keep us separate, judgmental, fearful, distrusting, and feeling like we'd rather be enslaved and fed than free and thirsty. So hear the good news. We are not created to be without our spiritual selves. We were created we were not created to be separated from ourselves, each other, or God. We are created by love, in love, through love, to love and be loved. Drink that in. Taste its sweet wisdom. Thanks be to God. Amen. Let's pray. Holy One, thank you for this gathering. Thank you for the opportunity to step out of the busyness and the business of the world so that we can just be together, that we can laugh, maybe cry, just share time in the presence of folk who need to be loved, who want to learn how to love, who want to love. We give thanks. Thanks for all of the communities that we are a part of that help us to feel like we belong and that we're part of something bigger. Today we bring to you our prayers for the world, and each and every one of us come with different things in our hearts about the care of this earth, about different countries and communities, and even our own country. All around this world there are vulnerable folk. looking for a sense of purpose, looking for safety, for health, for access to clean water and healthy food, education. Holy One, we pray that the valleys be raised and the mountains be leveled, that playing fields be leveled, so that every single person, no matter their age, no matter where they come from, what language they speak, who they love, that they can feel themselves welcomed, and that they be able to work jobs that give them a sense of purpose, that pay living wages, that they have somebody in their life, friends, family, who they cherish and who cherishes them. We pray for faith communities all around this world, that they be places where all ages can gather. There are so few, Holy One, where multi-generations can gather in one place and listen to each other and be with one another. Places of sanctuary, of redemption, and forgiveness and grace. Holy One, into the silence we offer you our prayers for our friends and our family and even for ourselves. For all this we ask, for so much more we give thanks in the name of the Child of Light, the one who taught us to pray together the prayer that we say now in the language of our comfort. Our Father, Mother, Creator in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
God is carving out a channel in a new time. working in our hearts to shape a new tomorrow. God will always challenge and provide, like a mighty sea, like a river strong, like a gentle rain, like a healing stream.
Please be seated. For all the ways that you give to First United Church, thank you. For your time, your prayers, your energy and care, thank you. Your financial gifts continue to support local and global ministries and our online ministry presence. Your generous financial commitment and special gifts help us support local, social, economic, and climate justice and spiritual and pastoral care initiatives. For instance, your gifts of presence and finances ensure First United remains a vibrant, relevant, inclusive faith community in Kitimat. Members of this congregation serve on our local food banks. We support different Tamatic status of women programs. We support healing and reconciliation, education, and initiatives. We have finally, post-COVID, returned to offering songs and prayer at a local seniors residence. We have a presence on big industry committees to hold them environmentally accountable. Our Healing Pathway ministry is growing again, and we team with other Christian denominations in offering community-wide and seasonal opportunities and even more. These are just a few of the special ministries we offer the people of Kitimat and beyond, thanks to City West TV and YouTube and Facebook. Our gifts to the United Church's Mission and Service Fund support national and global ministries and special emergency appeals, like the ongoing war in Ukraine and the recent earthquakes in Syria and Turkey. And we are always exploring how we can better serve not only our own congregation, but the wider communities in this area and beyond. So giving seasonally, quarterly via e-transfer, or monthly through PAR programs, or weekly with your envelopes, you ensure First United Church is able to bring services to you wherever you are and whenever you need to reconnect with God. So thank you for your generous donations to the church. We receive these offerings with grateful joy.
Religion in the service of humanity. The entanglement of religion and politics in the Middle East often divides communities and leads to conflict, particularly among young people. And we heard that in our scripture lesson today, didn't we? We all agree that it's important to focus on universal values and ethics, reject extremism, and make the necessary efforts to develop practical formulas for fruitful cooperation, says Rima Bayan Sleem, a 33-year-old judicial assistant from Chouf, Lebanon. Thanks to your mission and service gifts, Rima and 36 other young adults gathered in Beirut, Lebanon for the World Student Christian Federation Middle East region, that's WSCFME, in 2021. They participated in an interfaith dialogue program that develops leaders skilled in preventing violence and fostering peace between communities. WSCFME's role is to be a mediator of peace and understanding amid all the overwhelming regional issues that include sectarian strife. The interfaith dialogue program's importance lies in the fact that it brings together youth from different religious backgrounds to engage in constructive peace-facilitating dialogue, says Myra Neema, the regional executive for WSCFME. I personally believe that change is done in small steps, starting from our regional gatherings that sow seeds of peace to be reaped in the future. And our M&S gifts are helping to reach out to that. Your mission and service gifts help leaders in the Middle East and across the world collaborate and promote peaceful dialogue. The United Church of Canada is strongly committed to working ecumenically with Christians of diverse traditions and with people of other faiths for the common good, particularly in building peace and addressing shared concerns such as climate change. And we appreciate your gifts to the M&S.
I love it when mission and service seems to reflect very well the sermon. It's almost like we planned that, Phelan. And then you folks get to go home and try to remember what W something means, and W. Yes, World Youth Thing. But then just you also have to remember SBNRs. What are SBNRs? Do we remember? Spiritual, but not religious. Right. For life and our sense of purpose.
Thank you, God.
For love and the comfort of community.
Thank you, God.
For the gifts we receive from you that we can offer to our church, our community, and the world.
Thank you, God.
With your blessing, may these gifts be answers to prayer, and may our acts of generosity be an answer to someone's prayer. And the people say,
Amen.
Fountain of life flows.
So let's go forth from here with our arms wide open, our heads held high, and with love in our hearts. Remember that each and every one of us is beautiful and is loved by God. No matter what happens, we must always remember that. Listening for the call of the holy, let's go out and follow our dreams, live into our hope, and create opportunities for God's light to shine in diverse, welcoming, healing communities. Let's go out and change our world as Christ has changed our life. And as we go, know that God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, goes with us today, tomorrow, and always. And God's people say,
Amen.